Hello, Stephen and Trent. We got the big three.
How are we, gents?
I'm good. I'm great.
I love
Really
hearing
good.
that, mate.
Yes, it's good to have us all here, and thanks for coming on, guys, today.
Not a
Welcome,
problem.
brother. Always welcome.
Yes, so welcome everybody. I'll get this underway. So the whole idea of this podcast today was to basically we're supposed to have a little bit of a look at this, but more from the point of view of what we're seeing going on in Australia right now. Just type a if I'm assuming that most of you are from Australia. If there's anyone not from Australia, just type in where you come from in the chat. It's very hot here, by the way. It's 40 degrees in Perth. So hang on.
You deserve it.
Yeah, well, just because you live in Queensland in that dodgy state.
100%, mate. There's no other state to live in. God's
Nah, mate,
country on
Australia. I'm Wexit, mate. Succeed from the rest of Australia. Break away, mate.
Actually, I've just come off a phone call with someone who was asking me what the process would that be for, and guess what? They're from WA.
Well, you know, in 1932, we tried to segregate, don't you? We actually passed a referendum which broke WA from the Commonwealth, but at the last minute, the House of Lords wouldn't let it go through.
And what was WA nearly wasn't part of the Federation, and New Zealand was.
I know. The original constitution, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if I forget where it is, I think it's in Old Parliament House. In one of the rooms is the actual draft where New Zealand is in the Federation, when WA isn't.
I've seen that. Yes, when I was doing constitutional law at uni, I was shown that. And my dad, of course, was a constitutional expert, who, of course, as I mentioned, passed away 2.5 weeks ago, but a great professor. And he, he always used to talk about this, how WA was very, very close to not even being part of the Federation. And in fact, during COVID in 2021, in a poll, 29% of West Australians were still in favour of a Wexit, where WA would break away from the rest of Australia and become its own sovereign country.
They actually have an express lane in the governing in the Constitution and stuff where they can. That was one of the things. And New Zealand has an express lane where it can join, along with most of the Pacific Islands. Papua New Guinea, back in '75, nearly voted to become a protectorate, not a protectorate, a territory of Australia.
Well, you know that Donald Trump suggested to Justin Trudeau that he should make Canada the 51st state of America if he can't run his country properly. I thought that was quite amusing.
That was funny, and the media reported it, totally wrong, of course, because the media are all fuckwits. What was it? Anyway, they framed it wrong, but it was the funniest thing out. He did it as a backhander to Trudeau, and the media did it as if he was serious about taking him on. It was fucking stupid. Anyway.
Well, I think what the purpose of today's podcast really was a couple of things. I got Stephen and Trent, so I'll give a quick intro, because there will be a bit of rabbiting on. That's kind of the whole nature of a podcast like this. But the idea is to look, a couple of issues for me, which are hot and pressing. Number one is just to reflect on the Trump presidency and what we see as extraordinary wealth-building windows of opportunity that are already opening up out of this. And it's not just crypto. I mean, that's the obvious one, but there'll be others. The second one, I think, is a little bit more of the concerning one, which is the wonderful efforts of our government to give the biggest FU to Elon Musk and Trump and pass the worst possible bill of legislation they could possibly charge, which was to think, how can we censor Australia's internet and give a big FU to the Trump administration and do that? And they've basically done that. And I'm going to share why I actually think that's one of the most dangerous bills for our future as a country that I've seen yet in my lifetime. And and there's good reasons for that. I think it's a really bad bill. And I'm sure Stephen and Trent agree on that. And why I think that, as well as getting economically prosperous, we can't drop what I call the momentum and assume that because America is going to improve quite significantly under Trump, that we're going to follow in, because the way we're going so far, it seems to be our country wants to do something a bit different. So let's just, sorry, Stephen, you go.
Yeah. And to brace on that is, Australia will keep going the way it's going because of Albanese's ties and the Labor Party's ties for their ideology to the Fabian movement. And the Fabian movement is the main movement that tells Trudeau, that tells, Starmer in the UK, Macron in France, what policies to do. If you believe the WEF and organisations like that are controlling these guys, I'm just going to put it out there now, you're a fucking idiot. Because if you know the name of the organisation that is purporting something or trying to do something, it's not the organisation that's actually in control. Right. And
Bingo.
the most, and because Kamala lost, there has been a big push through the Fabian Society to basically tip in everyone else in the Western world to basically implode them. And it's fucking been accelerated. And
Well,
that's
yes.
why there's a massive push with all this Hamas and pro-Palestine shit against Israel, because it's about destroying the tranches. Now, it's going to fail, and it's going to fail really, really big. And things like the bill that Warren's talking about, or the bills, I've never seen a really good bill passed since like 1933. I don't think Australia's passed one since then. But these bills are all about the Fabian philosophy. And if you don't know who the Fabian Society is, go and do some research.
Maybe explain in dummies language, Stephen. What is Fabian in really dummies language for people to understand?
So the Fabian Society is a communist society. That's the easiest way to do it. It's the European social. So if you look back in history, Europe has always been a strongly socialist, authoritarian, monarchy-led part of the world, right? And it's because it's the oldest part of the world for modern civilization. They think that they're the only part of the world that exists. And they actually talk, and the Fabians talk in old world, new world, right? They don't give a flying fuck about the new world. They only care about the old world, because they see the old world, and the old world is pretty much from Turkey to the UK, North Africa, to the basically the Baltics, or sorry, not the Baltics, the fucking Sweden and all up there, up into the Arctic. That is what they call the old world. And that is the world that's in existence. They don't care about Africa. They don't care about, well, pretty much anyone in the Southern Hemisphere, they definitely don't care about, because in their mind, that never existed. And the US has only come along and thrown a spanner in the works when it became the dominant power after World War II. And when we say America, that includes Canada, because Canada is really a de facto part of America, and has been for quite a long time. So the whole Fabian thing is about keeping the socialist ideals and the monarchy style ideals of basically one person rules it all and you own nothing. Because if you go back to the lords and barons that owned everything through Europe, you were just a guest on their property, right? And you were a serf to them. And that's what the Fabian movement's all about, is bringing that back into existence.
Right. So it's interesting times. So you've got this kind of, I might get Trent, I'll introduce Trent in a sec, just so he's not just basically a fly on the wall. A bit of a pun, but Trent's podcast runs. But yeah, so really what I'm seeing, Stephen, is you've got like a bit of a breakaway, because you've got this kind of You said the BRICS nations, which is the Russia, North Korea, that path. You've got the NATO and the West. I mean, Trump's really breaking away from a lot of that and almost saying, we're going to go freedom and back to the basics of democracy. And for me, I look at that and go, that's the way I certainly want Australia to go. Whereas Australia is right going, let's just follow the Fabian society. And that's not what we want, because what I see the Trump presidency is going to do is just create wealth. I mean, he's virtually said, I want to deregulate things. I'm going to make crypto easy to regulate. We're going to cut taxes. He's pretty much following the model of Governor Kristi Noem, my favorite female politician of South Dakota, who's just basically slashed South Dakota taxes, had no mandates during COVID, have a totally prosperous economy. And Trump's just really following a similar kind of model, or maybe she just followed his model. But that's the kind of, it's going to create a lot of opportunity. And we certainly want to make sure we're following on that kind of line.
Yeah, she followed Trump's philosophy from the 2016 era, where he got swamped by the swamp. She's been able to implement it. So
now it's good. So Trent, I'll introduce you anyway. So there's Stephen, of course, many of you have come across him. Trent, and many of you have come across him as well. It's a good little team we've got here, because Stephen's very much the guy who knows everything and anything about politics and about the offshore world and that. Trent is just an unusual guy. And maybe, Trent, you can just share a little bit more about yourself for those who don't know you, and just a little bit about how you fit into the picture, because obviously Stephen and I know you're our kind of consciousness, mental health, my ecclesia right-hand man, or I'm your right-hand man, and we're both walking side by side on this. But how we believe that you need a political solution, but you're kind of saying a consciousness solution, and getting that sorted out is really important. So I might just get you to introduce yourself and share a little bit more how you're seeing it from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Woz. Yeah, for those that don't know me, Trent Chapman, run I Am Sovereign, all about sovereignty. So effectively all about living a life that you want, but also around about having that liberty as well too, to have your own thoughts and express your thoughts. I truly believe, I've felt like this for quite some time, that I really believe that what our country needs is that we need to raise our consciousness. I think Australia is very low consciousness. I think we've got so many great things in our country. I think we take things for granted a little bit. We've got that she'll be right, the go lucky attitude. But things are very, very challenging at the moment, very, very difficult. I truly believe in about 18 months to 24 months, you'll either be in a high consciousness Australian or you'll be a low consciousness Australian. And I believe that you'll have a very different lifestyle depending on which way that you go. A lot of that consciousness work involves, spending time alone, progressing on your own personal, things that you need to face, any fears that you need to face, any growth that you need to face. I think there's huge opportunities right now, like incredible opportunities right now. I do not believe the opportunity is going to be around for long. And I do believe that, 2025 will, I think by the end of 2025 I think that you'll find that you'll either be in that tier one and you'll be in a position where you can help other people, you can help the country, you can make impact, you'll be living a very prosperous life. Or I think we're going to see the tier two completely get wiped out and you'll be in the tier three. And if you're in the tier three, then you're going to be dependent on others, whether that be organizations, government, no matter what it is. But I think at the moment, it's not even I think, like I'll be straight direct, like that's 100%. And the next 12 months will determine what your next generation for your family looks like, hands down. I do not believe there's time to procrastinate. I think that if anyone's procrastinated throughout this year of 2024, you're about to miss the window, because in 12 months' time, these opportunities won't be here. And those opportunities, don't take them on fear, don't do things based on fear, because that's low consciousness again, right? You need to make sure that you've got a calculated analysis around about what you're doing. Know what your end goal is. Don't be greedy. I know you spoke around about the crypto market before, Warren. Crypto's huge. And, people ask me all the time, what cryptos? I would say stick with ISO 222 cryptos. But in all honesty, it does not matter. Throw a dart at the board right now. It honestly does not matter. But you don't want to be greedy. So you don't want to be in low consciousness over these next 12 months. So you need to have your exit strategies. If you play this game right over these next 12 months, well, then you can be in a position as well to impact Australia. And I'll just reinforce again that, like, the key for Australia is to raise our consciousness and break away from fear, because unfortunately that's what's been controlling us. I love what Trump's doing. I'm all for it. What will I think about Trump in 4 to 8 years? Who knows? But right now, I'm 100% aligned with every action that he's making at the moment, and we need to follow suit and we need to make those moves ourselves. So level up, raise your consciousness, stop procrastinating, make the moves. Generational wealth is here, but not only the wealth, it's the sovereignty that comes with it. It's the freedom that comes with it. And at the end of the day, if you're not chasing freedom, then you're missing the right goalpost, right? Freedom is always the goalpost. So that's what I'm about. I love working in foundations for myself. Advanced Religion Foundations is what I'm all about. Advancing religion is raising consciousness. It's not something which is outside of us. It's something that is within us. And within Australia, we don't have some of the things like the US does with the Fifth Amendment for freedom of speech, as an example. Well, there are ways that we can ensure that we have our freedom of speech within Australia, but we need to align with what works within Australia, because again, we don't have that Fifth Amendment. But there are ways that you can stand by your beliefs and your values, and now is the time. Like, there is, I truly don't believe that there's the window. I've said this for the last 2 years, but I'm at the point now where the door's about to close. I think that, I know that you agree with that too, Peter, that we've got to take action, and we've got to take the action externally with our structures, but we've got to take action internally with our consciousness.
Mate, I couldn't agree with you more, because what I realized was when Trump first won the election, naturally there was a bit of thank goodness. He pulled off something that no one thought just about anyone could pull off. Stephen and I mean, we are generally pretty good at predicting things, and we would both agree we didn't see that coming, not the way it came, where he pretty much broke the deep state, knocked it on the head, put a carrot up his butt, and starting to boot out of America, and pretty much has a global power, which he's going to use. I mean, you may have seen him come out with Hamas and just say, you better have this sorted out by 20th of January, the hostages, or I'll obliterate every single one of you. And there's no question that he will do it. And a leader of strength like that is what the world needs. And Absolutely. It's going to open up, as I see it, a doorway for opportunity, but you still have to walk through the doorway. You could, and I honestly believe the biggest danger that people face is in World War II. One of the things that happened when it ended was many people were still hiding in the jungle. There's actually stories of this, Japanese especially, believing it was a trick of the enemy. There was actually a famous story of a soldier who for 40 years lived in the jungle, and until 1985, he finally discovered that the war had actually ended 40 years earlier. And I'm noticing the number of posts on Facebook, and I'm sure you guys see it too, of people thinking, oh yeah, this is a trick and this is all this. And I've heard like Trump's the Antichrist is one I'm hearing at the moment, and something else is something else. And I'm kind of like, well, if he's the Antichrist, number one, I think he's a damn good one. And I think he's a pretty reasonable Antichrist. And number two, I think that right now, I do reckon we've got opportunity. Like, as Trent said, though, but, the crypto one will be short and fairly quick in my view, just simply because Trump has announced that there's going to be zero taxes on crypto. What's fortunate is the stupidity of the media. They're saying, I don't know if you read this, guys, but I was reading today or yesterday, and I was cracking up because there were literally media commentators saying, oh, it's not really sure yet whether Trump will do a lot on crypto. He'll bring a little bit in. But, I don't know if he'll make wholesale changes. And I'm like, have you actually watched any of the guy's medias? The guy will not only give zero taxes, he'll make it so low regulation to make America high. Once people work that out, I think there'll be another big jump up in that. And again, not financial advice, but that should be obvious, hopefully. If your IQ is higher than 100, that's just my own little sense of humor. But you know what I mean. It's huge opportunity ahead. Huge opportunity.
And looking at Trump as well. Looking at Trump as well too, was the Trump we see now versus the Trump we've seen 8 years ago. Well, what's the difference? Well, Trump has very much came into his spirit. And he's raised his consciousness, right? He realizes things bigger than him. So the reason why he is walking in such an inspirational character right now, as inspiring all of us, is because he's staying authentic to himself, and he's very much living that life in liberty. But it's because he's raised his consciousness, and that's how he's doing it. And when he raises his consciousness, he doesn't have the fear of the deep state, right? Like, he's fearless. And how does he counteract that fearness? Well, he raises everything to his faith and his belief, and he sticks true to himself. And that's what we've all got to do. We've all got to stop being so friggin' scared and soft and stand by what we believe.
I like it.
sure that we make sure we've got our structures right and go about our life and inspire other people, because the greatest way that we can make change is what Trump's doing right now. It's inspiring people, but it starts with the man in the mirror, right? And as we even, crypto and other things, like the whole analog system is moving into digital. So, we've got to be mindful as well too, not to get caught up in, some of the other things that the media might be saying, what our friends are saying and the rest of it. You've really just got to follow the money is really what you've got to do at the moment for your wealth opportunities, right? But walk an example. Trump raises the consciousness, and this is how we fight back. We fight back with consciousness, not with the sword.
No, something that Trump did, what you just said, that was so good. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone here, because one thing I know Trent and I'm sure, and Stephen have done, I watched just about most of his campaign speeches as much as I could, before, and I'm sure we all noticed was that the before and after his assassination attempt. Before it, I mean, you could see his heart. He wanted to change. He was doing it for the right reasons. But after the assassination, he was really, really doing it for the right reasons. You could see spirit was in him. He started to sell Bibles around America, getting people back to God and to their faith. And many of you have heard us talk that a nation without morals and without a faith is in really deep shit. And it's very inspiring to see a leader who's not afraid to get up and say, get back to your faith, get the 10 Commandments back into school. Regardless of what you think of it, having society with morals and values and standards is what basically we need. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a generation where I grew up in a strong missionary family who knew how to sacrifice, who taught me great morals and great values, which creates strength, it creates resilience, it creates an ability to take difficulty in the face. It enables you to do things like, I've been working till 10 o'clock at night, almost midnight the last month, most days, and having to get sleep just because I'm like, this is opportunity, just getting in there, positioning investments, doing spreadsheets, getting out there, doing as many webinars and podcasts as I can, and just preparing for it. And so honestly, there's a big door that's been opened, but just don't be scared to walk through it. And don't be scared, but if you like, I want to walk through it, but need someone to hold my hand, get good mentors. And Stephen, I'm sure you got some comments on all of that.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. It's, but the assassination attempt, the one that clipped his ear, basically shocked him back into reality. That was the moment that he really embraced back his family. And if you have a look at what he's done, is he's gone back to where us as a civilization are core moral values, right? You have strong core moral values, a strong family unit, a faith, doesn't matter what it is, but some form of faith. And that's why anyone who says they're an atheist are a fucking moron, because that's a faith, right? It's as simple as that. What's happened is people are longing for a faith, and they're latching on to transgenderism. They're locking on to climate change, which are false prophets, right? You've got to get back to proper faith, right? Not this stupid shit of, that carbon is something bad, right? Get back to moral values. The left push abortion because abortion breaks down the family, right? If you have a look at what happens, and this was a really cool comment. It was from one of Trump. What's her name? The pretty blonde one, McIlvaney, Trump's ex-press secretary. There was something about all you conservatives have too many children, and she said that's a great thing because we're going to outbreed you lefties, right? And that's true. If the Muslim world, if we're not careful, the Muslim world will overrun the Christian world because they have 5 children to our 1.5. Right.
Really?
Strong families. If you go in some parts of the world, divorce is hardly thought of. Right. And Trump has worked on his marriage in the background, and has brought his marriage back to the fore. He's brought Barron in front. He's redone his family trust to make it a stronger family unit. He is living up to those moral and core values that he lost. And now he's bringing him back, and he's showing you, and he's showing all of us, right, that this is the way forward. And he's slowly doing it. And it's all coming back into play. So,
Right.
you know, and it's only happened recently. So, but that's where we've got to go. Like there's a comment here, you know, Trump treats women with disrespect. Bullshit. Right? If he treats women with disrespect, why are most of his highest lieutenants in the Trump organization women? Why is it that he's given opportunity to women, right, to excel in the property industry? The first woman to build a high-rise tower from scratch, Trump employed to do. The first financial controller that undertook projects, right, in all in his father's basically ghettos, was a woman, right? The crap that goes on about what these comments and that he's supposed to be saying are all fake, right? Because they were taken out of context. He was sitting around. So when he made the comments about grabbing the chick's pussy or Roseanne Barr's a fat cow, for one, they were secretly recording conversations that were private, right? And then leaked to the media from people that hated him. But two, the whole context of all that had nothing to do with disrespecting women. It was actually the opposite. If you take the entire conversation, right, it's the total opposite. And this is the problem. And I find most women don't find the backstory on all this because they believe the bullshit that's in the media. Go and find the real story. Go and find those interviews and that, because they're now out there. And this is the problem, right? So, and since he's had that awakening and that epiphany from when he got shot, he has now brought that to the fore of re-strengthening his whole belief, and he's changed himself, and he's changed himself a lot. You know, by making the changes to the prenup and everything that he had with Melania, Melania, that for him, that just shows where he's moved his entire family perspective, and that is what we've got to underpin this great drive forward. It's not just about you're going to make money in crypto and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. So what? Having a fuckload of money means nothing if you don't have a strong moral code, family base, and a strong community around you.
Yeah. No, couldn't agree more. And Grace is on here now. So I said to her, jump on. You know, Grace is, you know, a director of Global Wealth Club, worked closely with Steve, Trent, and I said, hey, we need a female presence to balance the male. So Grace, just give a quick hi and introduce yourself and what you think of it all.
Hi everyone, it's good to see everyone here, and it's good to see great numbers actually interested in this topic, and particularly this is a really heated topic, isn't it? So you're either for Trump or against Trump, and personally I've never been in politics, and Warren has known that. I come from more of the heart, the family, the you know, the mindset and the heart and where we're going. So for me personally, whoever's doing a good job, bringing the economy into a better state, bringing the people freedom, just like Trent said about sovereignty, bring sovereignty to the people, then in there. So as, how timely is that? Because I said to Warren, oh, there's so much testosterone and very masculine here. And so he says, oh, well, why don't you come? I'm like, oh, okay. So now I put myself on the spot. So yeah, I just want to say hello to everyone. And I mainly do I'm behind the scene working very closely with Warren, and it's again, it's great to have you guys here, and welcome to Global Wealth Club. And so for me, my role really is, if I can assist with clients, I'm more with the clients and seeing where you're at, how you're going, encouraging you to do the work that these three men has given you. So I'm more like the support. I love supporting people. I love supporting in every area of your life, because these men are very strong-headed, as you know. They're very strong men. They're absolutely sure where they want to go. And man, to argue with these guys, you really have to know your stuff. And as a woman, because I said to her, holy, what am I going to say in this? Because their mouths are running really quick. I'm not going to jump in, because I guess as a woman, for me anyway, it's like, just allow the men to do the work, and I'll do the cooking at home and feeding and nourishing. So if you can put it that way, that's really my role in company, is to give that nourishment, give that refreshing, allow that loving and all that. So I love what Christy's about in Dakota that Warren's talked about. He showed me, I didn't know who she was, to be honest. So when he showed me about who she was, he showed me the speech that she made in encouraging Trump to be in there. I think, wow, this woman is full of wealth. She's wise, she's strong, she's just a representation of how a woman, to me, that's my perspective anyway, how a woman is. She's wise, she's got strong hands, she's not scared to work hard, and always she looks out for the family, looks out for the people, looks out for the group, and she's just there with all her heart and with all her mind, and she's there to support everywhere where the men go. So that's who I am, guys.
Thank you, Grace. Well, yes, it's Grace and I have been around this
Great.
for a very, very long time, and everyone here knows each other pretty well. And absolutely, I mean, the main thing is, this is just my little comment on things. It's something that my cousin said to me, like in organizing my father's funeral. She's just come back from Europe, and she met a lot of Americans. And what she said she found fascinating, she says to me, and my cousin said she doesn't personally know she likes Trump that much, but she said, I would vote him. And every American that I met, literally in Europe, even Democrats, said they were voting Trump. And when she asked them, why is that? She said, well, we don't necessarily like him, but we want the guy who's going to take care of our economy, who's going to give us our freedom, and who's going to stand against wickedness and bring back and stop the lawlessness in our country. And countries prosper when we do that. And I mean, all of us here, I mean, who here really wants to be in a country? I mean, and I just ask people this, and this is really good for us to know with our business and our structuring. Do we want somebody who says all the right things and very nice, but taxes us really high, takes our freedoms away? Or would we rather strong leaders who give lower taxes, give more freedom, where we have the opportunity to make more wealth? And my general observation, and this is going to be quite controversial, is that people who don't like Trump are normally people who are either very hardcore intellectuals or people who prefer socialism and to sit on their butts and let someone else do all the hard work. I don't think I know a single person who's a business capitalist who wants to work hard and create opportunity. And I know Stephen works his butt off. I know Trent works really hard. And every now and again, he has to take a break and go, oh, as do I. But yeah, absolutely. If I was a lazy butt and I just wanted to sit there all day, then yeah, I would love socialism. And I probably would hope that Kamala got in and I'd be celebrating a Fabian government, so I could do jack shit. So what we're about here is really the Trump era, as I see it, is promoting opportunity and promoting the ability to work hard and build a really good wealth and a really good legacy with a good moral compass. And I'm excited myself. I was saying to a friend of mine, I don't think any time in my life I've been more excited about participating in the world and being a part of the system and being a part of the structure. Whereas I've always been a bit of a rebel, as many of you know, because I've never liked what I've seen, but I've liked the Trump system I like. Whereas the Australian stuff, and this is because I mean, the Trump system's going to open up cryptos, but just everything, opportunity for business. I'm waiting for his laws to come out on crypto tax, zero tax free, because I'm sure Stephen would know. There's no doubt there'll be ways to set up companies offshore, even for Australians, through that stuff as well. If you know what you're doing, if you know how to do it, because America is right now one of the 7 what's called special favored countries in our tax laws. So there's all kinds of possibilities here. And the main thing is to just really be preparing yourself and getting ready for next year. And what we see is going to be some great days. Like the share market will boom with a leader who gives lower taxes. The
100%.
will boom. 100%. Yes, it's going to be very,
Yeah.
very, very, very booming. And we've just got to make sure we don't get so caught up in it that we don't also realize that, as I was having a chat to Stephen and Trent, I said, there does need to be something done about this Australian nonsense, about this kind of legislation. And I personally think we do need to push back on the political side and get stronger, and not just sit there and blindly, like sheep to the slaughter, turn up at the election in May. And what Trump showed is that getting to election made a difference. People actually getting interested in their politics. As Kristi Noem said in her speech at the Republican convention, she said, be an evangelist, get out into the streets, tell everyone, tell them to get to the elections, tell them to vote, tell them to stand for their country. And the Americans did it. They turned up. In Australia, we tend to be apathetic sheep to the slaughter. And then we end up getting the governments we deserve. And I'm really hoping that this election in May, I mean, already the Musk and Trump administration, with their tweets, managed to stop the misinformation bill, didn't stop the social media bill, but I'm thinking a lot can happen in 5 months. I know, Stephen, you've been involved in a Defund the Majors initiative, which is maybe share with everyone what that's about, because I think they've
Started already. So it started from the Queensland election. So one thing to remember, guys, is our system of government is totally different to the US. It has similarities, but it's pretty much a totally different beast, especially when it comes to the way that policies can be brought about in our Westminster system. And we're really a republic, because we send people to Canberra to vote what we intend them to vote, but they really just get together and vote how they want to vote, and put policies in how they want to do. Both majors are made of the same cloth. The Liberal don't expect a lot of change with the next election, and it won't be in May. It'll be March. I'm predicting March 8th for the election, because there's no way that Albanese is going to come back with a budget or even want to sit in Parliament again before an election, because it's just going to crucify him. The miners are just going to eat his lunch if he does. Now, the Libs have got a big problem on their hands, because they've got too many basically lefty loons as members. Got rid of some of them last election, but Dutton's got a major uphill battle to try and control the Victorian and half the Libs in New South Wales, and basically the WA Libs are just a fucking basket case. The South Australian Libs are getting their shit together. The LNP up here is all over the shop. I think that after the 100 days is up, they're going to struggle here in Queensland. Tasmania are all over the place. So it's going to be a really interesting framework that Dutton's going to have to work with. So what me and a group of people have been doing is we've been putting together a campaign to take the money away from the majors, because the money keeps them in power, right? So every time you go to vote, your dollar, right? So sorry, your vote is worth dollars, and that vote is worth about $5 on average at the moment. So if you're a candidate and you get more than 4% of the primary vote, you get $5, roughly $5 for every vote that you've got.
Wow.
Right? So that can mean tens of millions of dollars to a major party. So what we've been doing is we've been saying to people, put some independents or minor parties first, and then select your the major party where you want it to end up. So in my case, I always vote a strong independent, then someone like One Nation, CADA or UAP. Then I put the LNP, because the ones after that are all the dickhead socialists that I don't want to get. So it's Labor, the Greens, the Socialist Party and so on, because I want my vote to stop at the LNP. I'd never want my vote to get into the socialist camps, right? But I'm always taking an independent first, or I'm working my vote to make sure that it's going to go to where there's a possibility that they'll get 4%, and that money then gets taken away from the majors and go. So the LNP in Queensland didn't get anywhere near the money that they thought they were going to get from the primary vote, because their primary vote is in the low 30s. What we need to do is get it under 30%. If we can get the primary vote of the majors under 30%, they will basically start to disintegrate, because what's also happening at the same time is a lot of the top donors of these parties are stopping giving, or they're halving, or they're reducing the amount they're giving to the party. So the parties no longer have the money to actually go and fight what they want. And where we think it's going to happen is that will then change the mind that they will start hunting for the primary vote again. And the only way that a major conservative party like the Liberal Nationals can get the conservative base back is by coming back to the core values that we've talked about. You know, family, strong family unit, security, you know, looking after education, getting rid of all this socialist nonsense. When that will happen, I don't know. The headquarters of a lot of the branch units of the Liberal National parties are still full of weak, immoral fools that still think that chasing the teal vote is the way to go, or moving more and more to the socialist left is the way to go. So we need to make sure that, one, you understand that your vote is worth money. 90% of everyone that I come across does not realise that their vote is worth money, right? And that money is what drives politics. And it's as simple as that. Money drives politics. And you need to understand that, because we're not ever going to change the political system until we can control the money and where it goes. So that's why one of the things that I always say is, we don't have a politician problem in this country. We have a dumb voter problem in this country, because voters, right? I'm lucky. I'm super lucky. Politics is my sport. I grew up in a family, right, where we sat down every night at the kitchen table, no TV, right? We only ever had one TV in the house. We weren't allowed a TV in the bedroom, weren't allowed a TV. The TV had to be in the lounge room. We sat down, and the topics we discussed were business, religion, politics. And what do most middle-class families don't talk about? Business, religion, and politics. And that is a problem, because they are the three things that underpin our society. If you want a free society, you've got to get involved. And that is religious involvement. Yeah. And I'm not talking about you got to go out and join the Catholic Church or become a happy clapper or whatever it is, right? It's about finding your moral code, finding your moral strength, and then we can turn that to turn the Conservative Party against itself. Because if you have a look at the core values of the Liberal Party, and it's on their website, implore everyone to go and read it. What's on their website, they're not doing. And as a voter, we need to, if we want conservative values back in, we need to make those major parties basically stick back. The Labor Party aren't even sticking to their core roots anymore. They are totally shadows themselves. One of my best friends is a champagne socialist, proud card-carrying member of the Labor Party that I don't think he's worked a manual labour job in his entire life. He probably wouldn't even know how to pull a weed out of the grass, right? But we sit down and have coffee at least twice a month, and we are openly discussing all the shit that's going on in our parties, and we fucking hate them. He hates the Labor Party more than than anything at the moment, because it's not sticking to the true values. And us as a core group, and the group of us that are driving this defund the majors are from both sides of the political spectrum, because we both see that the majors are drifted. So this is where we need to go. And we need to get more aware of how our political system works. All right. And that is a big thing. The thing I really hate is some of the Liberal Nationals that carry on in public saying that they're against DI, they're against climate change, they're against this, they're against that. But as soon as a vote comes along, they vote like a lapdog, right, to support the party policy. The Liberal Nationals support DEI. The Liberal Nationals support climate change. It was a Liberal National, it was Morrison, that signed us up to climate change and on the road to ruin.
Yeah.
Right? Most freedoms are taken away from a Liberal National government, not a Conservative government. The last Conservative government that we truly had was Menzies. John Howard took more freedoms away from you than you realise when he backed the Patriot Act and the legislations around that after 9/11. Right? And these are the things that we've got to become aware of, really become aware of what's happening. Right?
So,
I won't vote Liberal National as number one on a ticket ever again.
Yeah.
And I haven't done now for several elections.
see, this is good, Stephen, because this is what I want to mention, and I want to get Trent's comment on this one, because Trent was the one who actually got me realizing something. Because like in America, one of the things that America had, which Trump was able to leverage, is that the core heart of the American is the patriot. It's the American who in 1776 basically stepped up, fought for their rights against a tyranny government, and often we don't call it as it is, a tyranny government, but oppressed the people and basically took away their rights and was taxing them and seeing them as a milking cow. And Washington paid a huge price. And, you know, if you hear Donald Trump's speech at Mount Rushmore in 2020, when they were going around defacing statues, he basically wanted to jail everyone doing it, because he said, these guys like Washington, some of their soldiers are walking barefoot in freezing snow to go and fight for the freedoms that they have. Guys like Andrew Jackson, you know, great heroes of America, and then being defaced, you know. So America had the soul of the patriot, and in the DNA of Americans at heart, even when they lost their way for a little while, when they had a strong leader, bring back their Bible and bring them back to their roots, because Washington was a man of the Bible. In fact, if you read his journal, every day he used to pray, and he often would get given visions where he would be warned about ambushes, and he was led by prayer, if you actually read his book. And so America had that in their DNA. So when Trump got up and called everyone back to the Constitution, back to the arms, back to 10 Commandments, something in the spirit of the Americans heard the cry. The challenge we got in Australia is the fact that we were by and large founded as a penal colony. If you read our constitutions in our state and Commonwealth, still actually belong to Charlie, Hazza, Meigs, Camilla, basically that lovely little group of people effectively own Australia still as a colony. We have a governor, and the Prime Minister and Premier doesn't even exist in the Constitution. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a real shit show. How the fuck are we going to actually change Australia? And Trent gave me a clue some weeks ago when he was mentioning the only freedoms Australia has clearly is the freedom of religion written in the Constitution and the freedom to travel. And I thought, there you go. That's our answer. Somehow we've got to raise the consciousness, because as we saw with America, if we can actually raise the consciousness of people, and when people start seeing that their voting is connected to their business future and also their liberties and the ability to have a peaceful life and not have vaccines put them as an experiment and all that, it's a way forward anyway. And so it also gives us more motivation to make money and build wealth, because as Trump showed, when you got money, you can make change. When you don't have money, people don't listen. And so more than ever, we want to be making money, and we want to be really getting back to our faith and consciousness. And that's why, as many of you know, as well as the Global Wealth Club, I run the Awakening Within, which is a mystery school and a spiritual awakening center to basically get people's consciousness raised up. Sorry, Steve, what are you going to say? And I'll get Trent up.
So people say Australia should have a Bill of Rights. We actually don't need one, because if you take the way that the Constitution was written, when we have the right of travel and the right of free movement and the right of free religion, that was written in the context that all other rights are in those two things.
Yeah.
Right. So under the right of religion is free speech, right? Is your moral abilities, right, to do what you want, is your free person, right? Free travel between the colonies and internationally in the free right of movement is about that. You are your own being. We don't need a Bill of Rights. We just need people that have, one, read the Constitution, and I bet you're on here. How many people on here? 84 people on here. I would say there's 4 of you that have read the Constitution from front to back. I would go I would be that generous to say that there's 4 people that have read it from front to back, and I'm one of them. Right, so that means there's 3 others of you out there. Right, and I actually, in my car, I should have brought it up, I carry a copy of the Constitution. It's a little book about this big. I picked it up at Parliament House from actually from Bob Catter, but we won't go into that. Yeah, out of his office, and I've read it and I refer to it. Right. How many people on here have read their state constitution? I have. How many people actually know there's a state constitution? Next to none. So if there's one thing that you can do to build your wealth on a solid platform, is go read the rule book that you're running under. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't know the rules of the game, you can't do anything.
Know your freedom, know your sovereignty, exactly.
Know your sovereignty. Right? Know how the rules of the game is played. Everyone carries on about, oh, the rich people do this and oh, the rich people do that. That's because they know the rules of the game. They know how to get the tax breaks. They know to get out of the PAYG system. Right? If you're in the PAYG system, you should put yourself in chains, because that is technically what you are. You're a slave, right? And I'll get a ship together and we'll send you back to Africa, right? Because that is what's happening. The PAYG system is modern day slavery. And if you have a look at Robert Kiyosaki's wealth quadrant, what is he doing? He's taking you out of slavery. Employee, self-employed, you're still a slave at self-employed, you just got a different slave master. Business owner, investor. Once you get into business owner and investor, you're no longer in the PAYG and you're out of the slave system.
Yeah. Trent, I'd love to get your comments on this, because you're
I know
really
you're big on this.
No, I know, I love it, because Trent in Thailand was a big hit, because he really got into this whole thing about consciousness, the freedom of religion, and basically about, how you can become a mindset of sovereignty. So maybe share more about that, Trent, and just some of your wisdom on all of this kind of stuff and how we can do that and change our thinking that can actually start to take advantage of opportunities and be more sovereign in our own country.
Mate, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, in all honesty, guys. Like, it's no hidden lie or secret what I do with the boys here and what I'm all about. And it's around about getting people their own personal sovereignty through setting up their own advanced religion in regards to what they believe in, which is just their moral compass. Because if you're not writing the rules, as Pedith just said there now, like most people are playing this game, they don't even know the rules. Well, the way to do it is write your own bloody rules and follow your own rules is the way to do it, right? So I'm all about getting people individually secure in that sense there. And I don't think it changes for us as a country. If we can actually come back to faith, then we override fear. But the problem that everybody's got, and like, I nearly send myself crazy repeating this 20, 30, 40, 50 times a day, is people have got so much rubbish embedded in their subconscious that they just get thrown at from media, from education, from parents' beliefs, from parents' thoughts, all this bullshit, that we've literally got a hard drive. Our the hard drive is overloaded with rubbish that we need to clear it out, because people struggle when it comes to faith. Like, it blows my mind when we start to talk about God, we talk about advancing religion, how it's such a challenge for people to try and comprehend. And it's just because we're so brainwashed. The subconscious just finds it so challenging. And that brainwashing is coming from that matrix, it's coming from that Babylonian system. So the truth is, like exactly what the boys have just said here. Now, we only really have 2 human rights in Australia, and everything else forms off those 2 human rights. So the only way that Australia is going to get out of this mess is through religion. Mark my words, it's through religion. Pettit had just said it there. I thought it was great before what you said there before, Pettit, around about the things that we don't talk about in the home. Like I talk about religion all day, every day, and sometimes people look at me like I've got 2 heads, and I can't make any sense of it, right? Because if we're not following faith, then we're just quite simply living in fear. We need to bring a country back that's got faith. There's less than 30 million of us. It is the easiest country to take back if we can actually find that soul within ourselves again and stop being soulless characters. We need to also, even talk about Trump now and all the rest of it, let's not get too caught up on Trump because, again, it just creates this divide. We don't want to divide. We need unity, right? What's the one thing that we can all fall under is something greater than all of us, right? And that's faith. And that's what we need to do in this country. We need to come back in there. Once we get faith into politics, we won't need politics, right? They can move out of the way because when people start to come back to that moral compass like we're talking about now, well, we come back to responsibility. Australia's turned into a country where it's all about rights. And all that rights does is just create the divide and conquer again. We need to come back in unity. We need to come back through faith, and we need to start with ourselves is what we need to do. There's no point telling people what to do. What we need to do is be the inspiration, and we need to inspire people around us by our actions. And again, it all comes back to the man in the mirror. So for me, I think it's a pretty straightforward. Work on your consciousness, clear the stuff that doesn't suit you, doesn't fit you, things that shouldn't even be in your subconscious in the first place. Find your faith, focus on your faith. Stop thinking that faith is a man in the clouds up there. Your faith comes from your consciousness. The only way that we find sovereignty is to raise our consciousness and head towards enlightenment. And you realize that all these things don't exist once you get there. So bottom line is work on yourself, inspire other people, come back to faith. And this is how we tidy up our country.
No, I love it. And so I'm going to ask everyone now, and before we start taking questions and that, is some practical action things. I'm going to start by naming a few myself that you can actually do. And based on what I've been doing myself and what I'm noticing that successful clients are doing. Number one is that when you see opportunity is to be taking it. Like, for example, right, and be patient and be willing to do the hard work to get there. So a really good example is why have I been working so hard? It hasn't just been doing random stuff. I've been seeing that the change in the Trump administration is going to definitely improve the crypto. That's just common sense. It's going to make the world more digital. It's also going to, I'm noticing that more people online now are talking about Christ, about religion, spirituality, almost everyone. And I know Trent's nodding his head, like many of my friends who would have nothing to do with it. So that's telling me it's a great opportunity for our spiritual teaching and awakening movement that we're doing, because we teach various courses of manifestation on clearing your sabotages and various boxes like that. On top of that, with the Global Wealth Club, we're seeing like, my gosh, there's going to be prosperous investments. You know, we're going to be seeing investments go up. We're going to be seeing an improvement in the share market because Trump's going to be encouraging corporate growth and things like that. So there's all this kind of stuff, but it's all exciting, but it takes work. So I've been positioning, I've been working harder, going back to the cash flow quadrant. So what Stephen said about the pay as you go, get working to get another source of income. You know, I personally believe that the whole idea of passive income is an illusion. I've met many. I remember sitting with a billionaire over last year in Thailand, and this guy, and I remember asking for his greatest tips, and that's what he said to me. He goes, it's an illusion. He goes, basically, leveraged income is a better way to go. In other words, he said, you've always got to manage your businesses and manage your income. If you don't and you abdicate it, rest assured it will go to shit because no one will ever care as much as you do. So I took that to heart, and I realized that to some degree I hadn't fully paid attention to my company. So I've been paying attention to the business, paying attention to our sites, paying attention to our, Warwick was there with him carrying Ron. He was amazing. But yeah, absolutely. So basically to, number one, I'd be saying to you is do something that you're passionate about. I mean, life is too short, as my father's death really showed me, to really be doing shit you don't want to be doing. So do what you want to be doing. I love teaching people on finances. I enjoy investing in numbers because I'm a nerd. Like I like spreadsheets, it excites me. And I like doing spiritual teaching. Anything outside of it, I don't like doing. So I'm hiring people like more than ever to make sure my house is in order. I'm basically hiring people to help me with my spreadsheets. I'm using Fiverr. I'm putting aside time each day to manage. So number one, putting aside, managing your time strictly is what I'd be saying right now. So really work out what opportunities most inspire me, what I want to get involved in. If you want to do cryptos, then what do I have to learn? What courses do I have to watch? I've been watching courses to learn new things, and I realized I couldn't go fast enough. So I said to my sons, this is my second thing, get people involved who are better than you at stuff and team up with them. That's why I've got these amazing guys with me here. I said to my sons who are really good with cryptos and spreadsheets, I said, how about we make a team? I'll do all the compliance and tax. I'm good at that. You guys do all the buying and manage everything, and I'll make sure the spreadsheets are done. So now I've teamed up with them. That just freed up my time. I've got Stephen involved because at the Global Wealth Club, I realized I was getting overwhelmed with so much of the structuring responsibility. Stephen said, hey, let me do it. Then in terms of the foundations, that some of you know is my biggest passion, is to help people set up philanthropic foundations and hide in plain sight and slash your taxes and also make a difference in society. Trent's gone to me, hey, my passion is ecclesias and churches. I'm like, and religions. I'm like, mate, you and I just team up and do them all together. And then Stephen, so in other words, get your team together. What we're saying to you, if you feel overwhelmed, it just shows you need a team. And if you don't have your team, then hire a mentor. You know, I still to this day hire mentors in what I'm doing. So number one is definitely seeing the things you want to put your attention into, do the study and education that you need to do, and get the mentors and the team that you need to get with you, and be willing to work hard. But of course, in all of that, smell the roses. I mean, I make sure I do regular things like Pilates. I go to the beach, and of course, to make Trent and Stephen happy, to give myself a challenge and keep grounded, I've got a pole dancing show on the 21st of December that I want to be live streaming, which you can all watch, and I'm going to be doing it to YMCA Trump's theme. So there you go. So I'm going to be doing it and live streaming it at a show.
Fantastic. I'm busy that day.
You're missing out, mate. You're missing out.
Yeah, I'm busy that day. Yeah, look, guys, like, so for me, building wealth or see wealth to me is part of sovereignty, right?
Yeah.
And I look at it like a three-legged stool, right? And without without all three legs working together, you're not going to be able to build a solid thing. So the first one is personal responsibility. It's all on you, right? It's not on government, and it's not on that. So if you're looking at the government's doing this, the government's doing that, that's still victimhood. You're still blaming someone else. You need to bring it back onto you. And the next one is financial freedom. So you need to find what tickles your fancy and what you want to build stuff in. Is it property? Is it crypto? Is it other tradable assets? Is it business? Is it a mix of all? For me, it's a mix of all, right? I love the whole candy bag, right? Now, not everything is going to work out, and you need to, once again, if you invest into something and it doesn't go right, don't blame other people for it. Make sure you blame yourself. So this is how it all works. And the third one is legacy, making sure you're giving back, making sure that you're creating something that's going to live past you. And that could be as simply as teaching your children how money works, teaching your children what we're talking about here, about faith, about religion, about politics, about all the things that really matter, right? One of the things that I've learned from the wealthy is they teach their kids very, very early how the world works, how the system works. The only reason they send their kids to private school is for the network, because the teaching is really all done at home, right? And if you have a look at the very successful, right, there is a very good family unit, right? Very rarely do you see someone, right, that is super successful and they don't have a traditional family, mum, dad, kids.
Yeah.
Very well. Out of all the billionaires that I've ever met, and I've never met a gay, trans, whale-hugging, single billionaire yet. Like, I'm not saying they're not out there, but I can tell you now, I've never met one.
No,
and I've met my fair share of billionaires. And most of them are all very, very family orientated. and they all take responsibility for themselves. They all work super hard. They all have shit for work-life balance because there is no such thing. And that's just what it is to get up to there. I personally believe work-life balance was brought into society to stop people achieving and keep people trapped in serfdom. And to make work-life balance is you've basically got to get out of that employee mindset and into a business owner mindset, right? Or in investor. Now, so that's it. Plus, you need to know the rules of the game. Get yourself educated with the rules of the game. And the simplest rules of the game is if you want to avoid tax, if you want to reduce tax, I'm trying to get the right word so I don't get into trouble.
Legally minimize taxes.
If you want to legally minimize tax, like Kerry Packer said, you need to understand how entities work, right?
Yep.
You need to understand that entities, and when we're talking entities here, we're talking trusts, companies, foundations. We're talking jurisdictional arbitrage, and jurisdictional arbitrage can be New South Wales versus WA. It doesn't have to be Australia versus New Zealand or Australia versus the US. You need to understand all these little intricacies. You don't have to know it all off by heart, but you need to know how it's structured. You need to know how it works, because the rules are actually designed for those that own businesses and invest, right? It's not designed if you're a PAYG, if you're an employee. It's set against you. So you need to leverage yourself out of that, because pretty much everyone that I know that plays the victim game, they're all employees.
Yes, exactly.
All of them, everyone that won't take personal responsibility for themselves are all employees.
So true.
I see it with my own employees. I try and not have employees. I want contractors. And I want my contractors to work with me to be business partners and go and work with 6 different companies, not just me. Right. So, and if you really want to play the ultimate game, the multi-billionaire person, they all work in the public space. They all work by having lots of investors and lots of people on board their journey. They don't do it on their own. Right.
Yeah.
And that is one of the big things that gets you out of the thing, out of the thing. Now, minimizing the tax shouldn't be your number one goal. It should be to live a sovereign life, and a life that is your life. Everyone's going to be different. Everyone on here is going to have a different version of what that looks like. Right? You need to work that out for yourself, but then you need to play the game to get you to that outcome. So understand the game, understand that it's rigged against you if you're just an employee. You need to levitate yourself. You've got to get big, right? So one of my mentors used to say to me, add a zero. So whenever I was talking and we're looking at a budget, especially around sales or what net worth was going to be, he goes, or market value of whatever we're looking at, he goes, add a zero. Add a zero. The other day, we're talking to him about, at the moment, I'm involved in a property deal that it's a $300 million development. It's a large scale development, but he turned around to me and said, add a zero. Your next one, add a zero. Make it a $3 billion. Right? So that's the type of thing that you need to be looking at. We've talked about all sorts of different assets. You need to find the assets or the asset classes that work best for you. And in my personal opinion, cryptos is just a tradable asset. The underlying technology from it is where the real money is going to be made. right? The smart contracts, the AI, the computer, the quantum computing going to be needed, the utility of a token, a coin, what it can actually do. That's where the big money is. A lot of governments are afraid of it because it basically makes them redundant, right? Because if we use that technology correctly, we can create our own constitution and embed it in a coin. There's a cruise ship. There's a cruise ship at the moment that I've been watching that is basically going to create, everyone gets a smart contract when they take an apartment on board, and that apartment is the constitution for that entire community. So when you sell that apartment, which is linked to the smart contract, you then are changing ever so slightly the community and what happens under that contract. And the person coming in abides by that contract. It's quite a unique, beautiful thing. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more sovereign states. So think of the Singapores, the Monacos, the Hong Kongs, the little sovereign states, San Remo. I could go. There's billions of them around. The Caribbean islands, the small islands, right? All these implementing a digital form of constitution that has direct voting power by the people that hold the token, right? And this is what a lot of, especially the Fabian-aligned governments, are afraid of, because that means that they're not in control anymore. It then comes down to everyone that holds that token. So these are the things that I'm excited about. But you've got to know the games and the rules and the way the game's played in this current world. You know, things like setting up PBIs or public benefit institutions, you can slash your tax bill to ever in a day, right? I automatically know someone who is still fully embedded in the matrix when they say to me, but you don't own it. That is the point. I don't want to own anything. I don't want anything in my name. I want to be a pauper, right? My clothes I buy on a credit card. Right. You know, I go to my tailor and say to my tailor and give him the credit card, and away he goes, he does my new shirts. Oh. Right. And you need to know that is how the game's played. If it's in your name, it can be taken away from you like that. If it's in the name of a foundation or a name of a church or in the name of some other entity, a trust or whatever it is, it's hard to take it away from you. But you can control it. And if you understand how to control it and how to play the game, it's another reason billionaires have listed companies that control the board. Rupert Murdoch owns 3% of News Corp. That's it, 3%. But he controls 51%. That's the game, people. And he doesn't pay tax because he gets money loaned to him from the company, pays it out with the shares that he gets given through share options because he controls the company and issues it to himself, never pays tax. Elon Musk does the same thing. Mark Zuckerberg does the same thing. Jeff Bezos does the same thing. The L'Oreal guys do the same thing. Pinot, Ardon, all in Europe. They all do the same thing. That's the game.
No, thank you, Stephen. Before I get Trent up, just following on, I thought what you said was so good just then, and I'm sure everyone agrees here. I mean, I couldn't have put it better. Like, you've got to change the way you play the game, is what I've learned. Like, and it's hard work to shift from being a slave to becoming a sovereign. It's not easy. It's not, because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's difficult, like to walk away from the security of a job and suddenly have an income and be sovereign. As Trent would tell you, these weeks where sometimes you haven't had a single sale and haven't had a dollar come in, you go, okay. Then there's weeks when you have an abundance come in and you're going, that's great, you know? in the beginning, and as time gets on, that gets better. But in the beginning, there's a real price to be paid. You got to work, you got to put the things in. And just continuing on the theme of what Stephen said before I get Trent on, I'll show you one of Trent and my favorite slides.
Can I just jump in there, Warren? So this is how hard it is, right? To be a billionaire, there's only 3,000 of them on the planet out of 8 billion people. 3,000. There's only 100,000 people on the planet with a net worth of 50 million above. That's
Wow.
it out of 8 billion.
Wow.
That's how hard it is. Everyone wants to be the billionaire. Everyone else wants to be in that top percentage, but only 103,000 people are out of 8 billion.
Love it. Thank you, Stephen, for that. That's didn't know those facts. Wow. So
It's
this is what, no, simple, yeah. So this is what we put here. And it's really important to get what Stephen was saying, because I know Trent's very passionate about this one, is that basically the way the feudalism system works is very simple. The elite own the game. The super wealthy know how to play the game. Like, they know how to set it up. They realize that you either go offshore or you hide in plain sight. And that's been my favorite one, expression, hiding in plain sight. In other words, you don't have to leave Australia, go offshore, hide in Panama, wear a black cap with sunglasses to get away from the government. There's a good reason why many of the wealthy like live in Australia or live in US and don't pay a lot of taxes, because they know what Stephen just said. And as I would say to people, my father passed 2.5 weeks ago. How much money did he take with him? The answer is none of it. I'm sure that my father wasn't thinking as he was passing, man, I wish I just, had more assets in my own name or whatever. He probably was thinking, I really wish I'd basically done more risks. And he used to say that to me in his passing days. Like, I wish I'd taken more risks. I wish I'd lived my dream a bit more. And he actually made me one of my greatest compliments when he said to me, what I love about you is you're the one person in the family who takes risks. He said, I don't always know what you're up to, and I cannot for the life of me understand what you're about. But he said, I like the fact you take risks and live your dream. And many people are slaves because they're either indoctrinated, as we saw in COVID. And this explains, by the way, why 70 to 80% got vaccinated, because the people that were here, and here got vaccinated. That's simple. Those who were the welfare, the poor, the people who are indoctrinated, and the people sitting on the fence not taking a strong stand. The awake, these are the people who don't quite know how to get out, but want to get out and say, fuck this, I don't want to be part of this rat race anymore. And that involves a change in everything. It involves a change in your income, and also learning how to hide in plain sight and know how to structure. And the good thing is you can do things like foundations and structuring. And maybe, Trent, you share your tips for people, because I know you got some great wisdom and how you can make it very simple and very practical for really anyone who's willing to do the hard work and become sovereign. And even mention about your sovereign purpose plan and everything, just tell people about it, because I know how much it can change people.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. And I just want to go back to what Peneth was just saying just there then, is like, so many people have desire to be in the 1%, but they won't do what the other 99%, they do what the other 99% do. To be in the 1%, you've got to do what the 1% do. I think it's really straightforward. Like, I really do. I think it's one, you've got to work on yourself first and foremost. You've got to clear your subconscious. Two, you've got to know the rules, and don't get too caught up. And as I say this, don't be like, just remember, life is a game. Like, this whole thing is just a game. So don't take it too serious either, right? It's just a game. But if you don't know the rules of the game, then you can't play the game. Australia has got exceptional laws around about how we do these things. I love how Warren talks around about hiding in plain sight, but I'm around about like thriving in plain sight. Like, I think that I think we're mad. We all focus on what the problems are. What we need to be is we need to be the solution. Hands down, the greatest way to operate, period, is through philanthropic work. Period. Hands down. No matter what that looks like, you contribute to society. Like, even going back to that Trump thing, like, that was a hand of God, that shooting, is how I view all of that, right? When you make commitments to yourself and to your moral compass, you start to realize all these other things that you can't see, these things you got your faith about, they start to walk with you as well too. Like, you become protected in that space. I think philanthropic work is the only way that we should be. And to me, when that tier 2 goes, because that is what is happening, right, guys? That's the bottom line. Tier 2 is going. I believe that you'll either be in that wealthy and you'll be a part of philanthropic work where you'll have more abundance and know what to do with it, that you have to. Like, mark my words, this is the life that I live. I don't know what to do with it anymore. So I enjoy to give it away. And the more that I give away, the more that I support, the more that I comes back, the more that I can help. So you'll either be in that tier one, you'll be in the wealthy, you'll be doing philanthropic work because you will be a part of the solution and you will be rewarded massively. Or you'll be in the tier three where you'll be dependent on the people that are running the philanthropic work. Like, you'll either be able to help people or you'll be the person that needs the help, right? Whether that could even just be the government that you'll be living off. I literally, when we talk around about our strategies for this year, like, I'll be very honest with everybody. My whole strategies for 2025 are already in play. I've mapped it out because I know my why. I know what my financial needs are. I know what my freedom needs are. I know what my health needs are. So I have my why. So for me, 2025 is just pretty much a cruise because I'm trusting everything that I've done. I've done the work and I've trusted it. I will mention here for anybody that's not aware of it, but at I Am Sovereign, and I work with all these gentlemen, Evan Grace as well too. In that program, I've built it to be able to streamline this process for everybody. And it starts with, you've got to clear your subconscious. You need to know some truth and you've got to clear your subconscious. So that's the Sovereign Purpose Plan. And then I do the Sovereign Entrepreneur Blueprint. And the Sovereign Entrepreneur Blueprint goes deep into exactly what we're looking here at the moment. So it's how the 1% operate. We then have a bunch of videos that teach you all around about foundations. Then myself and the guys here will help you, assist you in setting up that foundation. So for myself, 2025, all my plays are in. And I think it's important to always know when you got your plays in, don't doubt yourself. I know what my plays have been for 2025 because I've known for a long time that 2025 is the year that the analog system goes and the digital system comes in. We've got incredible things like technology that we need to use right now. Like, technology moves faster than wisdom. But if you can put wisdom and technology together, then you can fast track yourself absolutely massive. But don't take this stuff too serious. Do the work. And I think that I'll just reinforce again is that don't be caught in desire to live like a 1%, because if you're living in that desire, then you're living in low vibration. You need to take the action of what the 1% do. Know your why, know your who. Forget about the what and the how. Just know your why and know who you need on board, right? I'd be very confident to say for everybody that's watching this right now that there's, 4 people here that are willing to support and help anyone in any which way that we can, because we know it's bigger than.
Absolutely.
I don't do anything for personal gain. Everything's always bigger than me. I contribute to society and I'll always do what's right. So if I can help you, then just reach out. But you've got your environment around you guys. The environment's here. You're looking at it on the screen. You've got the know-how. All the opportunities are there. So don't get caught up in divide and conquer. Get out of that low self-esteem you've got. Start backing yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Get rid of any shame, guilt, and any other bullshit that you've got going on, and start to be that authentic self and live that soul purpose. That soul purpose, mark my words, if you align to your soul purpose, I guarantee that you will align to philanthropic work. I guarantee it, because I believe that everybody is a good person and we're all here to contribute. We've just been stuck in the matrix for too long and we've forgotten what we're really here to do. So please reach out if I can be of assistance, but I'll just leave it with take action, guys. Like, I'd say the same thing any day of the week. Take action,
Absolutely. And I'm going to get Grace to also, and I'll just quickly introduce her. Ben, after we've done that, if it will take questions, and Ben will give some concluding thoughts and how you can take action to move forward. So Grace, basically, we used to be married. Just to give some background, she's director of Global Wealth Club. We've got a bit of an interesting story. We used to be married. We got divorced. We stayed extremely close. We've got kids together, and still to this day work closely in business and with everything. Grace has got a remarkable story. Like, she doesn't have time to share the whole thing, but all I can say is that her background is like one of those almost horror stories, and how she's turned it around to become one of the most inspiring individuals of strength who just can help so many different people. So in terms of her vision and passion, and about taking action and not giving up. So maybe, Grace, just give your few tips from a feminine perspective that's kind of practical, that can really help, just help someone who maybe thinks these guys are great, but I'm feeling a bit like, how can I start with where I'm at? I think that's where you can add a couple of helpful tips, Grace. So over to you.
Sure, Warren, thanks. So I do work with some people as well, a handful of wonderful, beautiful ladies. So I mainly work with women. And I guess for me, I've always wanted to be in business. So the purpose of that was because I grew up in poverty in the Philippines, and talking about, Stephen said about getting involved in politics, religion, and business. And so part of the Philippines, it's very Catholic dominated, and what the priest says, the people do. And the other thing is that the business side, the wonderful thing about Asia as well, that it's you can do whatever you want. If you want to sell and cook by the street, you just got to get a stall. And obviously politics, which involves the unity, the community, the society, how it goes about and how it interlinks. So the three, as I see, they work in three. So my thoughts in this, you've heard from these guys. Now, I'm sure your brain is kind of mashed up a bit, some of you perhaps, and the heaviness and the weight in your mind. So what I talk to the clients is that, hey, come back to your heart. As Trent said, follow your why. What is the why? And so for me, it's like, okay, what is that? What does that mean? What is a tangible of the why? So again, you go back into yourself, because you cannot avoid going inward, because you're the one with the power. You're the one that has choices. So I choose from the beginning to come out of poverty. Now I'm one that, again, my mum couldn't afford shoes or clothes, so I didn't wear shoes until I was probably about 4 or 5 years of age, running around without shoes. Now, if you saw pictures of children in the rubbish bin, that was me, guys. Now, I totally, I have no, sure, for certain season that I went through trauma, I had to get over it, overcome it. But the fascinating thing about it is that when you see hunger, when you feel hunger, when you have nothing, it's easy to take the risk, because you know what hunger is about, you know what it's poverty, you know what you lack. And obviously, as part of being human, we want to expand, we want to increase. And how are we going to do that? Well, guess what? Go inward. Go inward is like, okay, how do I want to make a change? What do I want to transform in my life? What am I not happy with my life? So you ask all these really intimate questions about yourself. And that's really the first and foremost, is asking these questions about why. Like Trent said, finding your why. Well, finding your why is why, what makes me happy? What makes me, makes my heart really inspire? What makes me keep going without losing energy? What keeps me the dynamics? So for me, I've always wanted to be in business, because again, you can expand, you can create your own income. So I even wrote in my year 12 graduation book that I want to be in business for that reason. Now, as an employee, like Stephen mentioned earlier, but the employees are the ones that really complain. And so most people say that the employees, that business owners are stingy. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. Stingy, they're tied with the money, but when you look at it, how much spiritual work they give to society. Even, the big conglomerate companies that give so much donations to philanthropic, like Trent's talking about. So, yeah, so get back into yourself, get back into really asking the nitty gritty, and be true to yourself. Look in the mirror and really look in through your eyes and what this is. For some of you, you're happy to have what you have. You're content with your 50, 20,000, 10,000 in a bank account. You're happy with that, great. But most of us wanting more, isn't it? The wanting, the longing to have that and to taste it. So again, look into yourself now. The action plan with that is, once you come into, to me, that's part of being the wondering, the wonder of, wow, hey, look at Jeff Bezos, look at all these billionaires. How? You know what? Start wondering, can you tap into that 3,000? Can you tap even to that 100,000? So again, tapping into that, you have to be realistic. And so going inside, going into yourself, asking the why, asking all those things. And then, okay, all the guys here talking about team. So gather your team together, gather everyone who is resonates with you, who works with you, who's got the same values as you, who's got the same, as you got to be evenly yoked. Like I see these three guys, they're totally evenly yoked. Obviously, they have got their own opinions, and when they fight, they fight. And that's the beauty about it too. Part of the team is you've got to challenge each other. You've got to iron sharpen each other. And you've got to be in that level like, you don't take offense. So if I disagree, there's millions of times why I disagreed. And I'd tell him off and he'd tell me off. But the bottom of it is, hey, we're looking at the same horizon, we're looking at the same vision, and this is what we desire, what we achieve. So those things really, I'd like to really share, going inward, finding out your why, asking all those questions, finding your team, what you're about, who you are, and only you can do that. And again, creating that I am sovereign. You are the sovereign. You're the one that does it. No one else. You make that decision. So really, today is make a choice. Are you going to take action or not? And it's okay. Whether yes or no, it really doesn't matter. It's a game. And
Love it.
again, know the rules, right? So it's a game, guys, and have fun with it. Because, hey, shit happens. Life happens. You get fucked up, you get jammed up everywhere. These things happen. Welcome to roller coaster. But you know what? You get up because you've got the team, you've got the tenacity, and you've got the risk taking, and you're going to push through. And anyone can do that. Anyone. So again, it's a matter of choice. Make a choice today. Take action by saying, yep, I'll put my hand up. I'm going to give it my best, and find the team to do it. So I think you've got the team in these three guys and myself. So join us.
Love it, Grace. As usual, you're brilliant. So what we're going to do is we've gone 90 minutes. I cannot believe our time has flown when people get excited and get, you've got strong heads all, speaking their mind. And in 30 seconds or less, and I emphasize in 30 seconds or less, Stephen and Trent, can you just quickly summarize what your greatest message to everyone here today before I finish up and share with you how you can take action and work with these amazing individuals? So it's over to you, Trent, 30 seconds or less.
Greatest thing I think you can do, guys, is maybe just have a look at yourself. You may need to take one step back before you take two steps forward. But I think just the bottom line is, I'm just going to, again, what Grace just said, just take action because time is of the essence. So take some action.
Brilliant. And Stephen?
Take a deep, hard look at yourself and see if you really want to do it. You may think you want to do it, but deep down you won't. Find out why you're on this planet, because we're all here for a reason, and take immediate, deep action, and don't be afraid to be wrong.
Love it. Thank you, Stephen. And really, mine will be even more simple. I'll just be saying, in summary, is just taking action of some kind. And the best way, you're better off to do small, consistent action than to do some amazing big New Year resolution action, but peters out. So just type a Y in the chat if you're keen to take some kind of action and get moving today and would like some kind of help from us as a team. Just type a Y or just give us a chat or send us a private message. Who's keen to take some kind of action with setting up a structure? I've already had a few private messages coming through, or just basically, yep, keen, yep. Brilliant. Yep, quite a few people. I know I've been having quite a few messages. So what I'm going to tell you to do to make it streamlined. So Trent's going to be running an amazing sovereign purpose and blueprint to really train people in sovereignty. The next round of enrollees will be in February. I'm going to be at Global Wealth Club. We will help you with setting up structures like companies, trusts, and foundations. If you go to our website here, I'm hoping most of you are free members. All you have to do is to go into the members and become a free member and complete one of our inquiry forms and be very clear what you want in the form. So tell us what you want. If you want structuring, and if you're wanting particularly to help get more help around your purpose, go ahead and complete the form and things like that. So just go into the website, complete the form. So over here you can see it where it's got inquire. You just click on the inquire one, and you'll basically get this here, and then you'll get the details, and there'll be a bit of a form. It'll come through to us. We'll get a questionnaire out to you. and we can assist you. There's no obligation, no cost. We'll just simply can have a look. So make sure if you're really interested in anything of what we said, name what you're interested in, and we'll get in contact with you and we'll run through the options on how we can help you. So we'll just give you the link in the chat, but really, yep, you can always just go straight to the website and basically do that. So thank you, everyone, and really appreciate you coming here and being on this one here. Yes, a lot of you I notice are already members, but basically make sure you take some kind of action. And yes, basically with Trent's Sovereign Purpose Plan, those who've done it there, I can strongly encourage you to, but what I'm going to do with your permission, we're just going to basically, anyone who inquires, we'll make sure we send over to Trent as well, and he can send you details on his Sovereign Purpose Plan. So thank you, everyone, and basically bye for now.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks, everybody. God bless.
God bless.
To kick the habit.